I think his sentiment kind of mirrors what we were thinking while we were watching that. Yeah, anytime you need to drop 55, something's going wrong. That it shouldn't take that to get a victory.
Well, who had 41?
Well, 42. Yeah. I think
yeah.
Combined, they were plus 48 between the two of them. So that's absurd, but that's what you need to get a victory. Right now, that's what you need. Now, we know they're no strangers to reverse sweeps. They did it to Red and pool play. They almost did it to them in the loser's bracket. They had another close one, I believe, throughout the course of that tournament. It's like they had the ability to do it, but you shouldn't be in that hole to begin with. But let's start it with the Gibraltar. This is going to be the map one, Momo. I mean, eUnited was certainly hot early.
Yeah, it started so well, you know, the first couple of maps, but breaking down the first hard point, again, I think it was highlighted by Benson during the actual cast. Silly at this very point, 20-9 over double positive, something, you know, which is quite rare to see. Sometimes he's the player that will get a lot of flack for this squad, and really turning up, putting his team into overdrive, and it was a very convincing win. This was where you looked at each other, and this is where I was kind of very vocal and said, what the hell has gone on with EnVyUs' hard point? You know, they lost 2 previously. They lose like that. Madness.
Does it worry you a little bit, just when this EnVy team, if they are not winning that slaying battle, they have a 0% chance to win a hard point right now, Joe?
Yes. I mean, does it worry me? Not necessarily, because typically, like, their slaying is good enough. Like, for the most part, they're going to be in that slaying.
You know, I mean, like, TK can be outslayed by 20 and still maybe win a game. Like, EnVy, if they get outslayed by 20, that's the scoreline.
I think also it depends on the map. Like, yeah, maybe Gibraltar, you know, if you're not slaying well, you're going to get punished a lot more. You're going to spawn out. I just think that was sort of the best overall map we've seen from eUnited from all 4 players. That was a team effort, and that's what they can do, right? That is the potential of this roster. We just don't see it all the time. Gibraltar is one where EnVy, they were pretty solid on it, right, for a very long time. Maybe it's just one of those things where we talked about it, where they just got caught off guard, haven't practiced it in a while.
Okay, well, let's take a look at map 2 here as we head into the search and destroy. It's going to be on Gibraltar, and the woes, Momo, for EnVy continue, and it starts with a tough round 1.
Yeah, it does, and I think at this point when, you know, you get into the later stages of this search and destroy and eUnited start to get something together, this is where I was kind of thinking for eUnited as a whole how big this actual series was, and they currently sit, I believe, with 2 wins in the league. We've obviously seen success from the likes of eUnited, you know, Splice are right amongst them, and the next game, FaZe EG, of course, coming up right after this, is going to be so important. And this is where I thought, you know what, eUnited win the series, we could be seeing them at not just top 6, but playoffs.
A question for you just about EnVy here. Is it the same kind of lull almost? Like, we know they've been really good in search or really poor in search. Is it the same thing? Like, just like Hardpoint, they outskill people where they don't, kind of? Does that fall in search and destroy as well?
I don't think so. I think it's a lot more team movement. I think they were just simply outplayed by eUnited. There was a couple of retake situations that went eUnited's way. That one where RC just turns and burns on Temp was absolutely
That was the 2v4.
Yeah, it was a 2v4. Like, that's just simple mistakes right there from EnVy that you can't be making. I want to be honest, though, we're going through these replays, and I forgot the first 2 maps. For people like these maps, this series was so long.
It seemed like the series...
like, I was like, oh, yeah. I remember this.
It feels like the series started in the CTF almost, right? Because I know, I was talking to Momo. We were literally, we were up late last night. We didn't go to the gym this morning. We're saying, well, this is going to be a quick 3-0 now. eUnited's up 3-0 in the map 3. We're like, all right, we're going to go to the gym tonight. It's going to be an early night. eUnited's getting loud, and then suddenly everything falls apart.
When eUnited are 3-0 up in this, Clint just gets ready on the desk. He's prepared.
Oh, yeah, I was up here, ready to go.
He's got everything ready, and then it all changes.
Now what it means for Clint is that he's going to go home, order $50 of food, and watch anime.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. It's going to be delightful.
That's exactly what he said in the back.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. So thank you, EnVy. Because you come back in this one, you give me a right to be lazy, which is great. But we've seen a couple crazy comebacks from EnVy and CTF. Remember, they almost had the one that happened yesterday on London Docks, where they almost came down from, I believe, 0-3 down as well.
Yep.
But they got to stop getting in these holes, Joe.
Yeah, they definitely do. I just think that, again, it's a slow start. It just seems like the energy's down, the communication was down. Of course, when you're down 0-2, you're down 0-3, it's going to take some miraculous play, and I think you got that out of Classic and Temp. I honestly feel like Hook and Slasher were kind of out of the series. I felt like the energy wasn't there. And those other 2, Slasher said it, they pulled out 4 subs. They just put the pressure on for eUnited. The big thing for me, eUnited, you cannot stop at 3. You have to keep going. You're going to catch those players off because all EnVy is doing is sprinting. They're running at you. You have to try and control that map control, and they're just not able to do it. Like, that's just a huge mistake. You can't let off the gas pedal.
Okay, I have a question for you, Joe.
All right, I have an answer.
We know Slasher is one of the best players in the game.
The world.
We know, yeah, no, he is. We know he's maybe not the easiest person to play with at times. Does this EnVy team lack leadership?
I would have to assume so. I don't know what's going on in game. I would love to hear the communication. Maybe during EnVy games, I'd go to the back and listen to it, but it just seems like they lack direction. Or what it is there's a lot of mistakes that they're making, and maybe they are going back and fixing, but those players are just going right back to those horrible methods. So that is, it's very tough to sort of guess, but I don't know if Slasher is the in-game leader in game. Like, he could be a player that may just say, hey, let's go B, and then plays on his own.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, think about how different he is, just like as a leader, like the personality type versus like someone like a Clay. Like, it's very, very different. I'm just starting to wonder if that's what it is. Like, these mistakes keep happening. Like, you heard the frustration from him. You can say it falls on the teammates, but he's the one that kept control of this EnVy team. He's the one that needs to drop the numbers and also be the leader.
Yeah, he's leading in his performance, but maybe it's not there in the community.
That's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm wondering, because something seems to be off just with the way they've been playing. Now, granted, they do come back and win this series, but this one, Momo, London Dock's usually one of their better maps. They lost 2 in a row coming into these 2 weeks. You had to feel like eventually they were going to take one. I didn't think it was going to take this performance from Slasher, though.
Slasher, you've got to give a little bit of credit to Hugh as well, as kind of the SMG. He was putting up huge numbers, but yeah, all focus on Slasher. I think there was a stat from JP who said he got 4 3-pieces, 9 2-pieces. It was just a performance which you see so little, and you may not see this for the rest of the year. You may, don't quote me on that one. We've seen crazier things, but Slasher is the type of person to put those numbers up. And of course, it is correct when everyone's saying, and I said the same when Tommy dropped 50 and lost. If he's dropping 55 and even winning by 100 points, something's still wrong. Like, even if, Huke's there with him, there is still things that EnVy are doing wrong, even though Slash is playing so well. He shouldn't have to drop 55 to win a game. Like, it shouldn't be the case.
It's funny because, Joe, from the demeanor from Slasher in the interview after talking about that performance, for some reason in my head I thought the game was a lot closer than it was. Like, I was thinking it was less than a 100-point victory, because that's actually a pretty decent win despite dropping 55. I would have felt like it was like a 20-point game after hearing the way he talked about it.
I think the big thing is they lost rotation battles to lower docks and barrel building twice, and it took them to break that. If eUnited locks that down, the game's probably different, right? That 55 kill mark, it's probably 250 to 220. eUnited just did a horrible job setting up and getting the setup kills that they needed to do. I mean, eUnited, they got the rotation, they won spawns, especially on those money hills. They just weren't able to put them away.
Well, it's interesting, we talked to Temp on Hot Mic, and he said he thought one of the struggles with the Optic Gaming lineup currently is that they might not be playing the game properly. I think the same can be said currently of EnVy, for sure, with some of the mistakes that they're making. But it all does come down to the Game 5 search and destroy. And there's 8 kills for EnVy and a 2-0 round count before eUnited gets anything on the board.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think at this point, everybody kind of in the room just sort of knew it was just inevitable. I was actually talking to App earlier, and I was like, yeah, if you lost that London Dock CTF yesterday, you would have probably gotten reverse swept. That is the dangers of this EnVy team. And he agreed. He's like, you're probably right. Like, you can't allow this EnVy team to get back into the game. It just takes one map to tilt them, and it takes one more map to get all their confidence back. That was a huge play for Arcides, right, to extend it. And I think they may win this round as well, but as soon as you get to that round number 10, EnVy, they just put it away. They use a glide bomb, and, well, that was GG.
Well, you talked about, Momo, you mentioned Silly having a really big game 1. He struggled mightily there, I think, starting something like 1-7 to kick off that game 5. You can see just the difference there. We're seeing someone like Classic going with a 3.0 KD, and then Burstini, 6-8. He has the most kills on the team, so when they were losing rounds, they were getting smoked, and that's, again, from the beginning, 8 kills for EnVy before you get a kill on the side of eUnited. Just wasn't pretty early in that one.
It wasn't, and I think that kind of showed when a team like EnVy, like you said, have won 2 maps back-to-back. They're on for that reverse sweep. They've got in the back of the head. They've just done 3 in the past 2 weeks. It's like, oh, this is very doable. And what the rounds that eUnited did win was a huge clutch from Arcides, Clayster having a monster round as well. There was, I think, 2 rounds where eUnited just played well as a team. Apart from that, it was clutches, it was individual plays, and again, apart from that, EnVy has just kind of dominated that last map.
Yeah, I just think there's 2 big stories here with the eUnited team. Like, after that game number 3, there was a lot of things said that just weren't very friendly to one another, right? They kind of knew as soon as they allow EnVy back into this one, we're probably going to lose this series. Like, honestly, as soon as they lost game 3, it was basically done. And then EnVy, as you said, maybe it is Slasher in his leadership, because remember in IW last year, stage 2 and champs, they turned around. There was a boot camp before that happened that really, it just felt like the team changed. So maybe it is that guy. Maybe he does need to step it up, and those other guys just need to listen to him.
Well, we'll see who's going to continue to improve over here over the final 2 weeks. But we do have another match tonight. Let's take a look at the schedule. Just to remind you, the final one going to be EG